It might be like I remember where I was when I watched that shot.
Someone in a Wizards jersey that I'm like, that looks like a good NBA player.
You, no matter what, always challenge it.
Maybe like 9 a.m. is appropriate for that.
If you wanted to hype Max, you would sleep in that day.
Yeah, he won 30 grand.
Oh my gosh. Right. Welcome back to the Onside Pod. We're recording on April Fool's Day. Really, actually, one of my favorite days of the entire year, if I'm being quite honest. It's always just the types of goofs and gaffes you get on today are always my favorite, whether it be online or in person. The workplace is always a fun spot to be on April Fool's Day. Coworkers always seem to get the gist. You know what I mean?
I did not do anything this year, but I did get got pretty good by a coworker. Long story short is we're doing a pickleball league in the basement, or excuse me, the lobby of our office building. And you might ask, why is there a pickleball court in the lobby? It's a fair question. There just is. And it's indoor and there's a lot of walls surrounding it. And like this whole time, it's a small court. We've been definitely hitting the wall with our paddle. Like I put my hand up and said, I definitely have done that. I had not caused, I think, actual damage, but like definitely I'm hitting the wall with my paddle if it's right next to it. You know, what can you do? And our office manager texted the whole pickleball group and said, "Hey guys, the building has pulled the security footage and they found some damages, and you guys are going to need to like pay for it and blah blah blah." And for like 4 hours, the group chat of the pickleball league was spiraling, and everybody was mostly jokingly like blaming each other, but definitely there was some tension. And then she sent a video of her faking the email. She'd like faked an email for this. So I got pretty good there.
Dude, that's elaborate. That's really, really, really good. It's like the perfect level. The perfect April Fool's pranks are ones that assume the most drastic of like consequences, but the reality of the situation is like once it becomes clean, like the actual harm done is zero. If there's any harm done at all, it's a bad prank.
Exactly,
in my opinion. And yeah, that's a really good one.
Like the other one I saw online to that point is the Cleveland Browns announced a new helmet design that it was like just the orange Cleveland Browns helmet, and then the logo was just another Cleveland Browns helmet.
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that. What was funny is it's like the Browns, it's not like they have this perfect brand reputation, at least in the modern era, to protect. So it's not going to harm them to poke fun at their own branding like that.
Yeah. Buddy of mine at work, dude, this is at like 7:00 in the morning. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the Browns just traded Myles Garrett." And this was the first time I got today, and I totally bought it. And little does he know that actually did cause me real harm for like 30 seconds. And then I realized
7 a.m. that's kind of mean. If you wake up and your first thought on April Fool's Day is like, let's start coming up with fake trades to mess with Kyle, maybe we need to reconsider our priorities. But maybe like 9 a.m. is appropriate for that. I don't know.
I'd say so. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about honestly all the major sports. I think we're going to hit all the things that I feel like I've been seeing and listening to in my circles. So start with some college basketball talk. Obviously, March Madness is wrapping up this weekend, and with the national championship this next Monday, we've got Arizona and Michigan on one side, and then Illinois and UConn. UConn going for their third championship in 4 years, which would be crazy.
If you're only counting the men's championships too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they've had like 7 of the last 8 or something actually ridiculous in women's. So March Madness, obviously an awesome time for really anyone in sports, man. It brings people together that aren't in sports. Like this is one of the few things where like your mom, your dog, your sister, everyone's making a bracket. It's always cool. So
yeah, in our like my group chat I have with my friends from back home, I'll randomly just send, NBA, NFL, whatever highlights. No love in the group chat.
Crickets.
Just maybe crickets. A like or something. Yeah. And then, but March Madness highlights, that really gets the boys going. So it's definitely a wide part of the zeitgeist, and not many sports nowadays, at least in America, are part of the zeitgeist in that same way.
Yeah. So after that, we'll touch on the Atlanta Hawks. I think specifically are they're on a tear right now. They are doing some scary things in the East. They are going to shake some things up. They are currently, and they are a team that you do not want to play in the postseason if they stay this healthy and on this good of a run. It's been crazy to see. Then move to baseball. I think with baseball just starting up, there's tons to talk about. ABS has been fun. That's obviously been cool. And then both of us will give like a World Series top 5 contenders. I'm going to lean on you pretty heavy for that. I've been keeping up with baseball, but it's hard, man. They play so many games. Everyone's playing so much, and I get overwhelmed. And then I end up watching basketball.
There's too many players, and there's too many games, and there's too much to keep track of. But for whatever reason, I decided to do it.
Last thing, we'll talk briefly on some of the tennis updates. Indian Wells and the Miami Open, the first Masters 1000 tournaments of the year. They both happen to take place in the United States, and those just happened. Both were sweltering heat. I think Indian Wells Miami was much worse, if I remember correct.
No, they were both probably just hot and sweaty.
They were both hot. I think I actually was checking in Miami though, and it really wasn't all that bad for like being Miami. Nonetheless, though, some crazy results there, with Sinner taking both of them on the men's side and Sabalenka taking both of them on the women's side. But yeah, talk about that in a bit. Mm-hmm.
Kyle, on the March Madness topic, I know we're jumping there. This is a legitimate question. Do you feel the same rivalry that you do to Michigan as you would in college football? I can say I don't think I feel the same for Baylor's rivals, but they're also not as good at basketball, or at least in the time that I've been a college basketball fan.
Yeah, I think no. I put all of my rivalry eggs go in the football basket.
Okay. So this Michigan run is not. It's not ruining your March.
Nope. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Wolverines. They can have a good run. I will say, I don't know, man. Ohio State basketball has just been a train wreck for really the entirety of my time as a fan, which it's all relative, right? When you think about Ohio State, it's one of the biggest schools in the country. They should be like right up there with the Floridas, the Michigans, the Purdues, but they're not, and they haven't been for a long time. So there's a level of like I write them off every single year, and so with that being said, like the Ohio State Michigan game is like Michigan's going to win that game almost certainly in basketball. It feels the last few years, anyways, and that's just the reality that I'm facing. And then I wait for football season.
That's fair. Yeah, you can't be good at everything. That's a little unfair.
Yeah. Who are Baylor's main rivals? I was thinking in my head, I don't really have anything that jumps out. For some reason, I'm thinking TCU, but I think that's not. Is that correct? Okay, that's the main one that I'm thinking of.
It's I think it dates back to when they were some of the kind of primary Christian schools in Texas, and there is a lot of the talk around the campus is that like TCU is a poser Christian campus, all this kind of stuff. This is conjecture. I went to Baylor. I didn't go to TCU, so I couldn't tell you. But they like to call it Texas Cocaine University and all that kind of stuff. And then while I was in school, Baylor played Oklahoma a lot, and we were kind of the two best teams vying for the Big 12. I don't feel that same animosity for college basketball either. Honestly, the main animosity I felt while I was at Baylor in college basketball was Gonzaga, but that was mostly just because we were the two favorites to win the title, and then we had played in the 2021 championship. So that was purely just like we are both good kind of thing.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. So I think thinking about the tournament this year, the one thing that I have felt has gotten a ton of headlines has been the coaches. I think thinking about the shot in this UConn game that just happened, probably the moment of the tournament, and probably will be even after the tournament, unless something really crazy happens. It's one of those things that I kind of, because I watched it live, I think it might be like I remember where I was when I watched that shot, because it was really just surreal to see a game that Duke was up by so much, and then to throw it away in the second half. And even then, it was like such a slow burn in that second half where it kind of felt like they were just going to win anyways. And then it all happened so fast, which is how it always does in March Madness. This team that, felt like, 99.9% chance to win. And then it's just like all is the other way around. With that being said, though, the one thing that I think of right now when I think of that shot is not the kid hitting that logo three. I think of Dan Hurley freaking out. And then I don't know if you saw this, he walks up to the ref immediately after the shot goes in. He gets like right up in his nose and then like swaggers off with his suit jacket like half on. And the camera was on him for like 30 seconds. And for some reason, man, it just made me think like the coaches matter so much in these games and to these teams. Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, it's a good example because I know Dan Hurley's name. I just have to look it up. It was Braylon Mullins was the kid who hit the shot. And so, sorry for Braylon that we are not even mentioning his name here, but I think you're right. The coaches feel like they have an outsized personality. Maybe it's partly because college basketball kids, they eventually graduate to the NBA, and then we actually get to like learn a lot about their personality. Like I think, Anthony Edwards was definitely a personality in college, but I feel like I know him so much more now in the NBA. Whereas these coaches are a little more fixtures of it. Maybe it's a fact of just the college basketball is less star focused. I mean, all the top draft prospects from the guys who are going to go like top 7 in this year's draft are all out of the tournament. And even last year,
it feels like that happens almost every year. I really feel confident about that. I mean, you think about Cooper Flagg last year, obviously they had a big letdown and he actually had similar situation really. Like he ends up throwing, he has the last shot in that game, isn't able to get a shot up and they lose to Houston last year in a pretty big not as big of an upset, obviously, but still an upset. Or maybe not, upset's not the right word, comeback. But yeah, and I was actually thinking back, I couldn't really think back in recent memory where a number 1 draft prospect won the title. It's been a long time, and it's just crazy to think about. Like it feels like when all of the weight is on these young guys' shoulders, it's so hard for them to, I don't know, pull it together. And it seems like a lot of times the teams that ended up winning are the teams that have like really full rosters with, at least a couple seniors or at least juniors that have been there for a few years, and they have like that leadership ladder kind of like actually broken out. Whereas, the team like Duke, where the guys are just so young and they're so immensely talented. And I feel like every other player in the NBA nowadays is like, where'd they go to college? And it's Duke. But those guys didn't win championships while they were there.
I think the biggest example of this kind of trend was last year, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, who went 2 and then 5 in the draft, were both on Rutgers. And I don't even think Rutgers made the tournament. So it's definitely just a different game. I was thinking back, for number 1 draft picks that went, like last year, the main guy on Florida's team was Walter Clayton Jr. and he was a senior, maybe a junior, definitely older. And he's I think a good rotation guy in the NBA, but like exactly to your point, going back to the coaches, it's like those are the guys that we kind of remember and see again and again. And one thing I would just kind of be interested about is like, why does it feel like they even have bigger personality sometimes than the NBA coaches? Because do the NBA coaches move around too much? Maybe it is what it is. I mean, we definitely have ones like Missoula, who we of course love. But there's, it's like the longest tenured coach here is Spoelstra for the Heat, I'm pretty sure. And then the next guy after that is, man, I'm not even sure. Maybe I think it's like 7 years. Maybe it's Doc Rivers with the Bucks. I don't even know.
He's had a few long tenures. Yeah, it is weird to think about, but I don't know. I sometimes feel similarly about in college, they move around a good bit, but I was thinking about it. And there's more guys that you think of as like franchise college guys than there are franchise NBA guys. Like Spoelstra is the first one that really comes to mind in the NBA. But I mean, in college, you think about Izzo has been with Michigan State forever. And then I think about Roy Williams and Coach K and like them battling on Duke and North Carolina for so many years. And it's interesting now, like thinking about these new coaches and seeing what ends up happening with them. Like Todd Golden could coach for Florida for 40 years if he stays with them. He's young. He's a young guy, and obviously has put up good results. I know that they're, yeah. And so, I mean, like a guy like that could stay there forever and become like that, the face of that team. And then on the flip side of that, we've got guys like Patino that have bounced around. But at the same time, like when I think about like a Louisville coach, I think of Patino. And then he was with, oh my gosh, he was with another team for a long time earlier in his career in college. And was well known there. And then he obviously bounced around in the NBA for a little bit, and then is now back. I think he was at Iona.
He's at Iona and now St. John's.
Now St. John's. So he's just been all over the place.
But if it's a Patino team, that's really a key. I obviously have started, you start to become aware of the St. John's name and branding and players and all that, but you also like, oh, that's the Patino team. That's the Calipari team. Oh, I even, in my head, Bill Self and Kansas are kind of synonymous. And that just doesn't, I think, in the NBA, you associate them so much more with players. And this might just be a simple equation of like, in college, the players have someplace to go, and the coaches don't necessarily. Like, the coaches don't get drafted. But that's actually an interesting idea if that would be a thing. They've been talking about trading, I think mostly in jest, but like trading coaches for draft picks, or like maybe like late round draft picks in the NBA. Like if there's a team that really needs like a fixer coach, I don't know. It never actually happened, but
yeah, especially, I don't know, NBA. It feels like a lot of times, man, the coaches are half the time the players are half the time the coaches.
Yeah,
like you see on the Lakers, it's like LeBron is doing most of the talking in the huddles. I know I watch every Cavs game, and dude, Donovan Mitchell does so much talking every single time out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe
so
that's
I think
more of an NFL thing. They would need like a guy to come in and just NFL rehabilitate coaching, like the Jets or the Browns.
Yeah. And I think there's maybe in college basketball there is a level of like they're just kids. And I know that that's true in college football and everything, but because basketball, there's less players on the floor and there's more emphasis on the players themselves. I think there's a level of like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not like respect, but almost like guardianship from the coaches, where they feel like responsible for these players and their well-being. And it's also like developing them into, yes, like potential NBA players, but also just like men. And there's an emphasis on that. Whereas in the NBA, there's no emphasis on developing you into a relevant member of society. It's all about just developing you into a better ball player. And so I think that that's like another big difference between college and the NBA is this like level of, upbringing.
Father figure.
Yeah, almost. I was really trying to stay away from using that specific word, but that really is kind of, that's what it is sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that they like need another father figure, but like they are given that role a lot more, it feels like, in college basketball than college football or than the pros. They're also smaller rosters in basketball versus football. When we watch March Madness, we like see the emotion on the kids' faces when they lose. Like it does feel like a more we get emotionally intertwined with these players, even though we don't know the players most of the time. And maybe that's part of the whole essence of March Madness is the underdog or the scrappy young team. And exactly like you said earlier, you don't go into it being like, Cam Boozer's going to go third overall and Darren Peterson's going to go second. Like you go into it being like, I hope this small team, who's a bunch of guys who just like play together, that they may not even have an NBA career, I hope they get it done. And a lot of reason they're going to get it, get some wins is because the coach will get them to play together. So something about the whole system just has created this. And I think it's a good insight from you.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with college basketball, college coaches? I think I hit all the main points I really wanted to. I think it's obviously it's going to be an awesome end to March Madness. I guess I'll also shout out Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, who's still he's the coach for Arizona in the tournament, who's done a new thing with international recruiting for college hoops, where it feels like, right, the logical next step is we see all these international players in the NBA that are having such success. Let's take it one level lower and start recruiting them earlier into college and get these kids coming from overseas over to American universities. He's got two guys that have really been playing amazing for him this tournament, Krivas and, gosh, I think it's Karshenkov. And I think like that's a big part of it, right? Is getting these new players that maybe aren't as competitive to get. Like I can only imagine what, like, how many cars and briefcases filled with money that these like these high school recruits are getting, joking, but like compared to maybe just some 7-footer who was born in Serbia or Greece or something, and it's like that kid, there's probably far less colleges that are able to even reach out to them. So if your school has the money, it's like, there's probably going to be more of a push for that, and so it's cool to see. It's cool to see that happening.
It's a similar trend. That's what's going. We've talked about this in baseball. Obviously, the big stories in the NBA. The coaches that are able to recruit internationally well, the coaches that are able to develop that talent well, integrate them well with the team, so that they are able to like play to their best and doesn't feel like, oh, I'm a foreign person in America or something like that. Like, I mean, we talked about it with the Dodgers. Luka, Jokic, SG. I mean, the best players in the NBA right now are international. It is a trend throughout all of American sports right now, and so it's not surprising that it's also going to start affecting college basketball. So yeah, but other than that, it's been a pretty chalky tournament. I mean, we had Florida lost early, or I mean, not even that early. Sweet 16.
Florida lost in the Sweet 16. Yes. No, round of 32. It was round of 32, second round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was second day of the round of 32. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty. That is a little bit less chalky. Yeah, it's a good upset. Yeah, we'll get it to. Yeah. There's no 16 or 15 seed or anything like that, but we don't need a Cinderella run for it to be a fun tournament. I think that was pretty good basketball.
That was the Iowa game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was Iowa. And then they eventually lost to Illinois, and that's why Illinois is in the final four. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I don't want to get into it. I really honestly don't. But I almost wanted to have a whole segment about the level of, now that we have NIL money and how that's been affecting these good players going to the better teams, and it's like the cream of the crop has been raising, and so because of that, we see these better teams just winning more, which is bad for March Madness, but probably better for the players and getting them the exposure that they deserve and they should have. But selfishly, it does end up maybe taking away from the games. With that being said, though, we've only had NIL for a couple of years now, so I think the sample size is so small, and I'm not totally giving up hope on March Madness being the most special time.
We don't need to be. Yeah, there's something special with just the whole tournament. The fact that single elimination. Well, anytime a tournament is single elimination, it's impossible for there not to be some fun storylines to happen. And we'll see how NIL shakes out everything. Yeah.
The first like Thursday and Friday of March Madness are they're so unique in sports, where you have all of these games happening, so much chaos. I think that's
you have to like eight screen it to really get everything.
Yeah. Two of my favorite days of the whole year are those first 2 days of March Madness. Always so fun.
Did your employer put a message out being like, hey guys, no, it's March Madness, please still get work done the next few days?
No, we do a bracket pool, like in our it's not even just for like my office, it's like our whole section. So it ends up being, I think there was something like 150 to 200 people that entered brackets last year. It was a similar number this year. The reason I remember last year is because I ended up winning actually last year. Like sheer luck, to be honest. Like when there's that many people. But with that being said, I ended up getting like a sweet pullover that's like, embroidered and logoed. Anyways, this year. Go ahead. Okay, I'll finish because this year I didn't want to win again. There ended up being like a mass email that got sent out to the whole section, like, congratulations, Kyle, on winning like this year's March Madness bracket tournament.
Too much exposure for you.
It was a lot of exposure, to be frank. And so this year I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm going to have Miami of Ohio winning because that's like the nearby school, and that's going to be it. And so this year I was obviously out in the first round when Miami got stomped. But
Great tank.
yes,
Very well done, Tank. Do you know who is there a clear leader, and do you know that person? Like, are you
Dude,
yeah,
I haven't checked. I haven't checked. I honestly should though, because there's a good chance I know them. Because I end up just randomly, knowing. It's also like the people that I interact with are the same type of people that would enter into a March Madness bracket tournament. And unfortunately, I
100%.
wish I could diversify my friend groups that work more, but it's the reality. So I need to check though. I need to check. And I'll tell him you get like one item from the merch store at our company. And so I went with like the North Face pullover because it was the most expensive option that you could
Nice.
get.
Way to optimize that. So not to outdo your
Oh great. Here we go.
your story of what you won. My friend from Houston, I'm going to get some of the details wrong here, but his company is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and there is all the companies that Berkshire Hathaway owns enter into the same March Madness pool. So it ends up being 100,000 people, give or take. Anyway, they have two winners each year. They have whoever gets the most first round games right, which is just roulette. I mean, it's so good. And then whoever wins the whole bracket. So obviously the bracket is still going on while we're talking about this, but my friend won the first round. He got 19 of 24 or something. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but he got a lot right, more than anyone else. And he said he's sending pictures of him watching all the games that he cared about and whatever. He won 30 grand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like it ends up just being like basically somewhat potentially life-changing money on like this goofy little Berkshire Hathaway. Like, wow.
Yeah. And I guess, it's just pure numbers. I guess if enough people enter, then that you can offer huge prizes. And I think he has not even been at this company for that long. So enters, wins the pool. Maybe he can leave in May. Just kidding.
Yeah. Dude, they probably have like a retention policy. If you win the March Madness bracket tournament, you must remain with the company for 2 years.
Yeah, it's got a vest. You have to every month you stay is an extra $1,000 you can keep. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll cut it there on the March Madness talks. Excited for the rest of the tournament. I think I'm maybe rooting for. I'm rooting for Arizona. I'd be happy. I'm rooting for them. Maybe Illinois. Illinois would be cool too. Give some Big Ten some love. All right, let's jump to the NBA. I think main thing we're going to talk about here is the Atlanta Hawks, who have been just crazy. I mean, there's been a lot of movement on the East specifically. The West feels a little bit more set in stone. On the East, there's a lot of jumping. I feel like the Pistons feels like they're almost tanking a little bit. The Magic have been tanking big time. They've really not been playing that great. But the Atlanta Hawks have been just awesome. I think this all goes back to the beginning of their season where we had Trae Young getting hurt. He had like an MCL sprain and was out for like 6 weeks. And it kind of felt like, yeah, this is the Hawks. Like this is kind of what they do. They're a weird like fringe playoff team. And now that Trae Young's out, they're probably like done for the season. Not the case. They trade Trae Young on January 7th. He goes to the Wizards for CJ McCollum and Colin Kispert.
Still bizarre to see those two players, CJ McCollum and Trae, in those two jerseys. I know we've seen McCollum in a few jerseys in his career, but Trae in a Wizards jersey.
It's weird.
Honestly,
it's
Davis
weird.
in AD in a Wizards jersey.
This Wizards team is cursed for sure. It's such bad voodoo.
If he plays next year, seeing him in that, maybe it's just because the Wizards have not been very good in my lifetime. But other than like John Wall, I cannot picture a guy in a Wizards. Even Bradley Beal does not have this in my brain. But like, I can't picture someone in a Wizards jersey that I'm like, that looks like a good NBA player.
Michael Jordan did it. He had his Wizards tenure where
So
it didn't
weird.
feel right. Was it? I think the only guy, Gilbert Arenas, I think was a Wizards truther.
He was definitely, he was a loyalist. But I think it was just a little before my
no,
NBA
me too. The only reason
consciousness.
I think I remember playing like NBA 2008 on my Wii back in the day, and Gilbert Arenas was
on
in
the
that game.
Wii.
Yeah, no, I know.
Wait, what controller were you? Is it
Wii
motion controlled?
it was motion control. You would shoot like this.
No shot.
Yeah, it was actually so awesome. I played F out of that game. It's a good game. Maybe it must have been even earlier than 2008 because yeah, like you're saying, Gilbert Arenas was like early 2000s was his time.
Well, no, it would have been. He probably was still. He would
I
have been still
remember
there.
he was like one of the best players in the video game though. His like overall numbers were insane that year.
Well, and it's the same in like FIFA. Like the best guys are often just the guys who have like the right combination of like top speed, acceleration, and finishing. Like, you know,
Ronaldo is like, yeah,
obviously, yeah.
Even
someone like Xavi or Iniesta back when they were like the two best midfielders, they were like kind of not really worth using in FIFA because they just weren't that quick. You ever? Sorry, not to keep on the Wii topic. It's just I love the Nintendo Wii. Did you ever do a like a first-person shooter on the Wii?
No,
like motion control.
I never. I know that there was like Call of Duty releases, but those similar to MJ or AD in a Wizards jersey, those games are cursed and not right.
So I have Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the Wii U, and that is a weird looking case. Like it's just this is not a thing that should exist.
You've got to be like one of 50 people in the world that has those combinations of like game and console.
Yeah. So I don't think the servers are live anymore. Actually, I know they're not, but I remember even before the Switch. So the Wii U was still like the most recent Nintendo console. I would try and play Black Ops Online, and I think it literally the only server that had people was Team Deathmatch. Like I have never on the Wii U played a multiplayer, you name it, free for all, hard point, capture the flag, search, like those servers just didn't exist. You just weren't able to play them. So I don't know if I just came in late, but basically lost media to me.
Yeah, they couldn't have been up for more than like 6 months, dude. Like nobody was playing those games. That's hilarious. Did you ever play Nintendo Land on the Wii U?
I absolutely did. That's one of my favorite group games.
It is so fun. The Mario Chase 'em one is great. The Animal Crossing where you've got to like collect the little fruits and the cops are trying to get you. Like some of the best video game experiences I've ever had are those games. Such that was slept on. Yeah,
I know. It just nobody owns it. And even still today, I'll tell people I own a Wii U, and they're like, "So what's different from that and the Wii?" Which I mean, fair. It was weirdly branded, but that was how. So I never had video game consoles before the Wii U. My parents were just like, "We don't need them." I played a ton of the Wii I would go to my friend's house basically just to play the Wii. And then Nintendo Land came out, and that's how me and my sisters were able to convince my parents to get us a Wii U. Is because we were like, we can all play it together, and you, Dad, and Mom can play with us. And honestly, the pitch worked, and we all loved it. So
that wasn't even a ruse. It really was just a great family console.
There you go. You should have done marketing for the Wii U.
That's hilarious. The two of us are like the two only people on Earth that are like really Nintendo, Wii U, Wii U truthers.
The things for our pod. Cam Ward is good. The Wii U is slept on. We'll keep adding to the list.
Okay, going back to the Hawks. So they trade Trae Young to the Wizards. They get McCollum and Kispert over to the Hawks, which from face value, I initially did like that trade for the Hawks. I think McCollum still got at least a couple more productive years in him, and Kispert's one of those guys like he's a good like two-way player. Every once in a while he'll get hot and just have like a 15-20 point night, and he's solid on defense. He's kind of a bigger guard. And so I didn't hate it, but at the same time, I also didn't really think about it because it was still the Hawks and they weren't doing anything crazy. Then they trade Porzingis to the Golden State Warriors, and this trade got a lot more buzz. This happened just before the All-Star break. This was February 5th. Porzingis had only ever played 17 games with Atlanta before they traded him, just due to injuries. And I know he's got some more unique health stuff going on too. And so I'm sure that all plays into it. And so anyways, they get Jonathan Kuminga from Golden State Warriors, who is another one of those like kind of weird guys that can sometimes take over a game, it sometimes feels like, and just be the dude.
He definitely popped for a few. I mean, we talked about it on the pod. He popped for like 5 games, basically. The 5 games after he came to the Warriors, maybe it was just a little bit like spite, my old team. But was the guy for a little bit there.
Yeah. And so he gets traded to the Hawks and doesn't really have like a huge splash initially, if I remember correctly. But more recently, he's been pretty productive for the team. But getting ahead of myself. So going into the All-Star break, they were 26-30. They were 10th in the East. And after that, they go on a 17-3 run. And they are now 43-33. They have clinched a playoff spot. They are sitting at 5th in the East. And maybe the one that's probably the best team in the East over the last 20 games, and the team that you absolutely do not want to see on your calendar for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's between, like, in the entire NBA, not even just the East. I think it might be only the Spurs and the Thunder, maybe not even the Thunder, who have
That
been as good as the Hawks, which is remarkable. I in my kind of early preseason predictions, for whatever reason, I couldn't even tell you why. Well, I did really like Jalen Johnson, so maybe it was just that. I had the Hawks in my Eastern Conference Finals prediction. I had Cavs Hawks. I still thought the Cavs were going to have, they've had a slower season. Definitely did not expect the Celtics to do what they have done. Did not expect the Pistons 1 seed campaign, but so I was feeling terrible about that prediction like a month and a half ago. And I'm not saying that they're going to meet the Eastern Conference. In fact, right now it looks like the Cavs Hawks might be a first round matchup.
Yeah.
But as far as just like scary teams in the East that I would not want to play, I would probably put those two top of the list, maybe with the Celtics with Tatum. But the Hawks just beat the Celtics last Monday. It was.
Yeah, they I think they played them twice over the last like 3 games, and I think they split. So, but I mean, yeah, doing that with the Celtics is just fine. I think the Celtics were sitting Tatum, if I remember correctly.
Just keeping being careful there.
Yeah, but still,
I'm a little worried this is fool's gold. I think, we started at the very start of this season. The Bulls were the best team in the NBA, just like over the first like 8 games. Then the Clippers, they were terrible, and then they went on like a huge run to go back to 500. And in a league like the NBA, where these rosters are so chock full of talent, and the talent can be so swingy. Like if a guy is shooting well on a night, he can just win a game. Like we've seen that happen many times. I worry that this is fool's gold. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I will say, so Jalen Johnson has been basically leveled up since the start of the season, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker has definitely recently been, I kind of think, like the X factor, just scoring. I mean, that's the simple thing that I was worried about with them after Trey was gone was, can they orchestrate buckets? And I mean, they've just been able to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they kind of almost remind me a little bit of the Pacers team from last year, just in like their team structure and the way that, I mean, the T in team is emphasized, I guess. Like it feels, like when you get late into a game and it's tight with a lot, I mean, basically every one of the top 6 teams, there is a guy that you get the ball to, at least one guy that is like the main ball handler. Like even on teams where there's 2 guys, like even if it's Tatum or Brown, it's like those are the 2 guys that are going to get a bucket. But every other team has a guy that's going to get a bucket. Even the Pistons, they've got Cade. He's the guy you get the ball to. Cavs, it's Donovan, or now maybe Harden. But
that's right. That's right. It's James.
But with this Hawks team, and I mean, maybe they just don't have that guy, which I think is part of that weird, like, do we trust this or is this fool's gold? Like, what is your guy is Dyson Daniels or Jalen Johnson? It's like, no, probably not. It's Jalen Johnson more than Dyson Daniels, but nonetheless, it just doesn't really feel like they have that superstar factor, which usually the teams that make deep runs, they've got that superstar. So I'm not totally sold. I'm afraid that they're going to have an early exit, but it's cool to see. And I think it's at the very least going to shake things up for like playoff spots, which is cool.
I think you're probably right about the concerns. There are some flip sides to that, one of the main things, the reasons that the Pistons might struggle in the playoffs is because Cade is like the main guy. And so the offense can get a little more predictable. Even someone, before last season, I think this was one of the problems with the Thunder, where if SGA, if it's not SGA orchestrating the offense, they had a really hard time coming up with a bucket at the end of the. Even though Shea is amazing, but if you put like 3 guys on him and you don't trust the rest of them, that can be difficult. So there could be some benefit to having a wider team spread of offensive plays to run, guys to hold the ball, that kind of thing. But I worry maybe that just like the level of those guys are not strong enough for the Hawks for it to actually matter. But there maybe could be some benefits, like, hey, we don't know who we want to be taking the final shot. That might be very optimistic though.
Yeah, it's we don't know who's going to take our last shot. You got to say it in that tone,
and that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, right. Then it becomes a better option. Oh man. Yeah, I think
they're also young. I mean, next season this could be a huge.
They are, yes, their players are super young. I mean, now, and I think like before you had like maybe like Trae Young was sort of in that middle age group. Same with Porzingis. He's a little bit older, but now you've got, I mean, McCollum, who is definitely in his weaning years.
Right.
And then
other than him, I think
other than him, all their guys that are like actually producing are super duper young. So yeah, I definitely think they're a team to look out for in the next couple seasons for sure.
Yeah. If at the worst, if they whatever lose to the Cavs in the first round, this is a very good foundation to build upon. And that doesn't always work, just because you have a good run doesn't necessarily mean you will be able to build on it, but you have something to build on if you are able to. So
cool. Okay, let's keep rolling. Let's move to the MLB baseball. It is here. Opening day just happened. I live in Cincinnati. Fun fact: Cincinnati Reds are the oldest team in baseball in the MLB. They were the first team in the MLB. I think that's the wording that I'm going to go with. Nonetheless, their opening day is a huge event in Cincinnati. There was like multiple people that I work with that like take off work for opening day. It's a huge thing. I think the weather thankfully did hold out and it was a nice day and everyone got to go to the game. But opening day, I mean, it's a holiday in a lot of other cities too. And so this season, I think the biggest change that's occurring is the ABS, the balls and strikes
automated ball strike,
automatic ball strike system, where obviously they have cameras set up in like a triangulated fashion. I imagine the technology has to be somewhat similar to the tennis technology, where they're able to basically track where the ball lands in tennis, but the equivalent is where the ball is at in the strike zone. I don't know if you saw, but they were like they had to measure all the MLB players like very specifically. And there's been a lot of chatter about like guys that were either like much shorter or taller, like than their stated heights were much different than their actually measured heights, which is kind of funny. I saw that they were also like measuring the guys at like specific times during the day, even to like make sure they're getting accurate readings, because obviously, I mean, you shrink like something, I think like close to an inch or more, like just between like the time you wake up to the time you go to bed.
You said obviously before that. That is not obvious to me.
Well-known knowledge. Oh yeah. It, like just because of gravity, your spine shrinks during the day, and then when you go to bed, like the air pockets or whatever between your spinal knuckles or whatever you call them.
So if you were just laying down all day though, you wouldn't shrink.
I think that's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, no, I think the MLB had a thing where like they were measuring everybody at like noon or something. So if you really wanted to optimize, if you wanted to height max, you would sleep in that day and then go to your MLB.
Hilarious. Would you want to be? You probably want it to be accurate because like there's probably no benefit to being taller, because it's just gonna, like, if they're a little wrong, it's gonna move the strike. I guess you could but then pitches that are like at your neck would be strikes.
But it wouldn't be that egregious. And I think if anything, you'd probably want the strike zone a little bit higher, but it's a player by player thing. There's some guys
that is also true,
just like crank on balls that are low. So
the golf swing.
Yeah. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, get your thoughts on the ABS system, whether or not like how that's going to end up changing the game, because I actually think it's going to have a huge impact on the game of baseball and like how the games are played. We've already seen some like crazy calls in actually the Red games. Funny enough, the Eugenio Suarez at bat was going was viral all over Twitter. It was, I think the bases were loaded, and he ended up getting two calls correct. And there were two outs, I think, also. So it was like a very much like an important moment in the game. And he ended up overturning two calls that were going to be strikes, and then he got them turned over to balls. And ended up, I think, getting a hit on that play even. So it ended up just being a crazy situation where we see that this is like obviously impacting the game from a batter's perspective.
My reaction has been basically wholly positive. I have never been someone who is a deep believer in the necessity of the human element in these things. Like, as a parallel, I don't think people, let's say you're playing tennis, I don't think it should be part of the game of tennis to convincingly tell the other person on the other side of the net, oh, that was in, that was out, just for whatever, like, because you're good at doing that. I think it is good that most tennis shots in the pros are, we know for sure in or out on the line. The lines are there for a reason. There shouldn't be this like blurry, fuzzy zone around it. I understand with baseball, there is like catchers framing the pitch. There are some more kind of interesting elements, but like in this current system, at least, those are still there. They just have the ability to challenge them if they feel that it's either an important enough time to do it or a bad enough call, and they're confident enough in it. And I think it's been wholly good. Like I think back to last year, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Dodgers pitcher, was pitching. I think it was the ninth pitch of what would be an immaculate inning, which is basically 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts, for the full inning. And I think it was the ninth pitch. He threw a curveball basically right in the middle of the zone, maybe a little bit near the top, but basically right in the middle of the zone. And the umpire just, like, for whatever reason, called it a ball, and Yamamoto did not get an immaculate inning for that. And I don't know if Yamamoto cares that much about his own immaculate inning, but to have that accomplishment taken away from him just because the umpire, for whatever reason, got it totally wrong is frustrating. And it is very cool to see I'd say the people who I think will benefit the most from it are really good catchers who are great game managers and have a really good sense of their pitcher and the batter in front of them strike zone. And the catchers that are really on the money and can overturn the calls, the balls that were called balls were just on the edge and able to get them to be a strike. So I think those guys are going to benefit the most. And I think I would rather a catcher be good at calling the right pitch and knowing exactly where the pitch was than be good at framing the pitch and like fooling the umpire. I just don't really see why that needs to be part of baseball. That's
an interesting thought, because you're basically, now we're trading the skill of framing the pitch for the skill of knowing the game management and deciding when it makes sense to challenge, which I don't hate. Obviously, that's something that will only be implemented in the pros in the nearby future. With that being said, though, are we that far from just completely eliminating the umpire?
At least the home plate umpire, I don't. It has been bad press for the umpires.
Wow. Did you see also the main umpire that's been catching a lot of the bullets, are a lot of the heat, is CB. Yeah.
CB Buckner. Yeah.
CB Buckner. Yes. CB Buckner has been very much in the spotlight. And did you just see, I think it was today, actually, he got hit with a pitch, a ball, deflected off the bat and caught him right in the face mask. And I think he was carted off.
Yeah, he had to leave.
Carted off, but he did have to leave.
Do you think he saw just all the different clips of batters like challenging and getting it right against him, and he's like, man, just hit me with a pitch today. I need to take a day off.
Dude, that's a horrible position to be in. I cannot imagine umping right now with the state of the league, and it's already it's so hard. It's not a job that people should be doing. Yeah.
There's so much talk about how, difficult or frustrating reffing is in like the NBA when they're calling fouls. And those are things that have to be human judgment. Like it's so difficult to say that is, letter of the law a foul when it's kind of in that middle. Anyway, I just say that to say, when we have the opportunity for something like a strike zone, for it to be a for sure black or white, yes or no,
Yes.
ball or strike, it just feels better. It just feels better to do it. I don't.
Yeah.
It has been so simple. I don't know. It feels hard to make an argument against it. Is kind of where I'm
It
at.
does. It feels obvious. I think the same thing was true in tennis. We had line judges for so many years, and then the line judges went away, and it became this automated system, and it was like just objectively better. The amount of missed calls, like you can maybe find on YouTube, there's like one or two really weird situations where like the ball hit the net, and so that ended up like changing the trajectory of the ball a little bit. So then the Hawkeye system didn't quite get it correct. And there's been like weird things
Ooh,
like that
interesting.
that have happened like once or twice, like actually over the last like 5, 6, 7, like 5 years maybe, or however long they've been doing it. And so you think about that though, and like players have all agreed that like that's objectively a better reason. And I'm sure if you took a poll of MLB players, I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I can only guess that they would also totally agree. Pitchers would agree, batters would agree. Like, yes, we want the calls to be correct. Like these are winning athletes that have won their whole life and think that they are the better athlete, they are the better player, so they're going to want the rules to be correct.
Yeah, and they've the system is quick enough. I was definitely, I think the main concern would be, is it going to just be obnoxiously slow? But they're super quick at it. And, it seems like the fans get into it when their player gets the call correct. And it feels like it's added an extra element of fun as opposed to frustration.
Yeah.
Whereas before we could just be like, oh, that ump, they always post like the ump scorecards and it's like, oh, this ump screwed us. That was a huge call. And we can just not have that frustration anymore.
Yeah.
I was curious about your thoughts on this. I'm starting to be a little bit of the belief that strategically it's going to be really important to basically make the pitchers rarely use the challenge as opposed to the catcher doing the challenge. Going back to like the game management piece, because part of my thought, well, of course the pitcher's farther away from the strike zone. And part of my thought is the pitcher, pitchers are famously like kind of weird guys. They're a little egotistical. They might just always be like, my pitch was right,
Yep.
And they saw the batter, crouch down or do something weird, and they saw the strike zone was somewhere else than what it was. I kind of feel like the teams, this is very half-baked, I feel like the teams should say, hey, Dylan Cease, you are never challenging a pitch.
Will literally never challenge back. Yeah.
However, Alejandro Kirk, the catcher, you can. It could just be person by person, but that's my lean.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have actually a lot of thoughts on that whole process. I agree. I think pitchers in general will not make very many calls for the reasons you just stated. I think they'll be told like, you don't have the perspective you think you may. Like you're not, like the catcher is also lower, right? The pitcher is on a mound looking down at where this ball is going,
and they've just thrown the ball. Like they've
just thrown the ball. Their head is totally cattywampus. Yeah. So that's part of it. The other part is they are they're thinking about so many different things. They're thinking about, okay, what's the spin I just put on that ball? What's the spin I'm going to put on the next ball? Is there a guy running behind me that's trying to steal for second or third? And then you're also, I mean, you are the person that just most recently did an action. So it's like you are definitely discombobulated. So I agree. And then there's another aspect of that, which is if you have two people, the pitcher and the catcher, who are both responsible for making this challenge call, you almost like defer to them. Like I feel like there's going to be a problem of deferral where it's like, okay, well, if they're not making the call, then I'm not going to make the call because they didn't think it was obvious. So I shouldn't think it's obvious. And so then like neither of them will end up making this call. And it just ends up becoming like a stalemate between the pitcher and catcher. So I think that could be interesting to see. I also just think it's crazy. The rules are that it's only an option for the people playing in. Like, I'm shocked it's not a manager that could challenge it. Like I would have expected the manager to be able to throw a hand on the hat at any point and be like, I'm challenging that as the man. Like, just feels like that would have been something they would include. I'm kind of glad they didn't because, I mean, it makes more sense for the players that are doing it to be the only ones that can. But yeah,
which I will say, this hand on the head, great gesture. They
awesome. They killed it.
Got
with
that one right.
Absolutely killed it with that one. Yep, I totally agree. I also saw. So I guess we haven't mentioned it, but each team gets 2 challenges per game, and so there's a ton of strategy in terms of like where you choose to use those challenges. Like, you obviously do not want to use them when there's 2 outs, no men on. I don't care how egregious the pitch was. You do not waste a challenge in that situation. But then there's also this other thought of like, I mean, yeah, just basically using them at the right time, I think is the biggest thing. It's like very strategic in terms of when you want to use your challenges. I was watching the Reds game last night, and there was I think he's a Stuart Spencer, I think his name is. He's a young guy with the Reds, and he used a challenge in a situation like that. I think it might have been either no outs or 1 out, but there's nobody on, and it was like the first or second inning. And it's like, that's just not the time where you use a challenge. Even if it is, it ended up being a close call. But number one, he got it wrong. And number two, it was in a horrible position, like thinking about game strategy. It just did not make sense to use it in that moment. So that's going to be, I mean, a huge part of it.
Did you see the highlight? It was either last night or the night before where there was a position player pitching on the mound. It was like 14-5. And it was called a strike. You know, the position player just lobbed it in and he tried to challenge, and you actually cannot challenge it if there's a position player pitching on the mound, and he had to just take the strike.
I didn't know if that was a real. I saw that clip.
Yeah, it is part of the rules,
and that's a real rule. Is it something with, because the ball's coming in at such a harsh angle with the way that they pitch, or like, I don't understand why they can't challenge? It seems silly.
They might just be like, hey,
it's not fair.
This doesn't matter anymore. So
yeah,
there might be.
I do wonder, could you almost like game the strike zone then? If you're a pitcher and you throw like super high arc and you're just barely catching the strike zone.
I think it's an interesting idea. I think there's going to be a lot more kind of up and away fastballs.
Yeah.
Or because those are really hard to hit well. And oftentimes, especially if the batter kind of leans out from it, that ball can look really far away from the batter. And I think a lot of those can be called balls when they were actually like on the strike zone, and they just kind of like had moved into a position that made it. I do think that there might be certain pitches that gain a little bit of strength in this new system. Also, they can now keep track of this as like a proof of someone having a good eye, a batter having a good eye, which that's an interesting angle of this too.
It's an interesting statistic. I was also sad to see, like, if you just Google a game, I haven't checked it on the MLB app, but if you just like Google a game, and it'll show you like, what inning they're in, how many hits each team has, how many outs there are. There is no stat for challenges left or challenges overruled. There's no mention of it, which I think I would at least like to see a little C with either like 2 or 1 or 0. I don't know if we have anything.
Baseball score bugs are already like so information full, but they'll figure out a way to do it. People love talking about this ABS stuff, and maybe it's just because it's novel, but people love it.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you, small aside, have you seen some of the Japanese score bugs where it's a cube? And there's like a score, and it's got like there's a like normal bases are on the top, so it's got the 4 bases on the top, and then on the left it'll be like,
that's clean,
the at bat and like the balls and strikes, and on the right it'll be I think it's maybe like the pitcher and batter names. It just looks so clean though, and it's like takes up so little space.
I like it. It's a little like video game looking almost.
It is.
But maybe that's maybe like 80-year-old Roger
though.
Yeah. 80-year-old Roger who's been watching baseball would not like it, but I think it's kind of cool actually.
I do too. Score bugs in baseball are probably the best, just because, like you're saying, there's so much information that gets packed into it, and every game just has so much information that's like able to be numerically summarized easily.
Also, I looked at the MLB rules. It literally is just, they're like no challenges when a position player is pitching. They just decided that, which fair enough. I mean, those aren't high leverage pitches.
I hate it.
Yeah, make sure it's still right, even if it's 50 miles an hour.
Okay. All right. Last thing I'll say about ABS. My take is that if you have your 2 challenges, or 1 challenge for that matter, left, and it is the last strike of the game, and your team is about to lose because you are getting struck out, you, no matter what, always challenge it if you go away looking.
Well, first, you should never go away looking. That's a terrible way to lose a game. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Like, will we ever see? So with that logic, then, I mean, yeah, if it's, you should always challenge that ball. And I imagine that there will definitely be a time in this season where somebody will strike out looking. in the ninth inning, and their team will lose, and they will not have used their challenge, and it'll make me so mad, just out of principle.
Yeah,
I don't care if
you
it's straight
could
down the
have
middle.
challenged.
You could have challenged.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. You got to use all your resources.
Yep. All right, let's jump to our World Series contenders for this year. I think, man, it's way too early to make any judgments about any teams. I mean, it's actually ridiculous to do it. I think, like, I will say that the separation has already started. You see, like, some teams, I think the Brewers are off to, I think they're 5-1 through the first 6 games or something. And so there is, I mean, we're seeing good teams that seem to be maybe showing that separation early on. But nonetheless, I think we're still going to see this. There's this
long season
that's at the very top. It is also a really long season. There's a few teams at the very top, and then it feels like a little bit of a big separation, and then a little bit of a big separation, and then a big cluster, and then some really bad teams.
Well, you say that, but the Colorado Rockies just won the series 2-1 over the World Series runner-up Toronto Blue Jays today.
That's because the Rockies are one of those really good teams.
Yes,
right?
No, of course. This was the Colorado Rockies. I can't actually believe this is true. They have not won a series since last June. So in every series they've played, they have come away the loser. But the Blue Jays in Toronto too. The Colorado Rockies have not even had their opening day yet. Anyway, they are not going to be on my list. Do you have a different team than the Dodgers in your first spot?
Nope. Dodgers are pretty clearly the best team, I think. I mean, they won last year, and they almost
added Kyle Tucker.
They almost certainly got better. It doesn't feel like they got worse. Yep, they picked up Kyle Tucker, paid him a ton of money. They got
Ohtani's first start was great.
As pitcher, you mean?
Yeah, as pitcher. Yeah. So
I did see that. He unfortunately against the Guardians.
Yeah, he shoved.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to go? I just wanted to do Dodgers because I figured that was the easy one. Do you want to go 5-1 or the other way?
I think. I mean, we started at 1-5, and I'm fine with going 1-5. And like I was saying, I mean, I don't have super strong opinions about a lot of these teams. I mean, for reasons we already stated, but I do have. It looks like so. I've got Toronto at the 2 spot. Are you happy with that?
So I docked them for the Rockies. So they're in my 3 spot. Their pitching has been actually like pretty awesome. Kevin Gossman, and then Dylan Cease's first start. I think he is pitching again tomorrow. But Dylan Cease set a new franchise record for most strikeouts in a first start, and his problem he's always been a good strikeout pitcher, but sometimes struggles to like keep the earned runs down. And I think he only let in one earned run. And he was their big kind of offseason signing. So their pitching does look truly very scary. They have that guy who throws submarine too, and who relieves for them. But you just can't be in my number 2 power rankings and have lost to the Rockies. So
that's fair. I understand that. I think the Blue Jays also signed their infielder Kazuma Okamoto from Japan. That was a big pickup for them. I think that's why I gave him the 2 spot. But we'll see.
The Brewers were my number 2.
Okay.
You mentioned them earlier. They're 5-1, and I think notably, they're saying star is not even right because the Brewers are always like a team's team. They kind of get the job done together, but they're probably most promising and notable player, Jackson Chourio, is out for some. Baseball players always have some little injury, but he's out, and they're still 5-1. And I think the main guy that I want to highlight is Woodruff, who is the pitcher who was hurt for a lot of last year, and kind of, he was pretty dominant in 2024, maybe 2023. And I think they missed him last year for sure. He's just he's an ace type pitcher. And when you don't have your ace, you have to add an extra guy to the rotation. Everyone gets worse, etc. He's back. So that's why the Brewers were in my number 2. I mean, they were the best regular season in the MLB last year.
They looked so good going into the playoffs. They looked super scary, and then
the Dodgers.
They make it to the pennant, right? Did they lose in the pennant?
Is that right?
Soto was?
Yes, it is. Yeah, because they beat the Cubs, and then the Dodgers. Did they sweep them, or was it 4-1? It was.
I think it was 4-1 if I remember correctly. Yeah, I thought Milwaukee got one. Anyways, but yeah. So
They got dominated either way, unfortunately.
all right, who do you got at the who do you got for number 4?
So I have the Mariners. Cal Raleigh has been extremely slow, but the Mariners still have the best pitching in baseball. Their top 4 guys are as good as anybody, and then their 5th guy, who's supposed to be like the weak link of their rotation because they have the Bryce Miller's out, just pitched 6 innings of no hit ball. So somehow they just found this 5th guy, I don't know, off the street and made him an ace as well. And I don't even Julio Rodriguez has been really slow too. So like without 2 of their best hitters, the Mariners are still one of the best teams. And if those guys get going and the pitching is as good as it, there's no major injuries. I see no reason why they can't at least go back to the ALCS.
I thought it was pretty surprising to see them dump Gino. I thought that was
I agree.
A weird, like, it feels like they're very much trying to, win, like go to the World Series this year, like, and it's not like we're really building for the future. I mean, of course, you're always trying to build for the future, but it really feels like right now is the time for them. And I mean, he was one of the best hitters last season. I mean, notably, he didn't have a great postseason with them after getting traded from the Diamondbacks, but still,
that might be it. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, they ended up, it seems like they kind of hit the jackpot with Josh Naylor, who was great for them in the postseason.
He was so good last year. Yeah.
And he's a really fun player. One of my favorite players in the league. And so
he also hasn't gotten going this year. So it's like
no.
They are, what are they, 4-2? I don't know. They still look like a great team. And it's like, if you have your consistent pitching and you can rely on those guys, you can let the batting take time to, figure itself out. It's a long season. You have a number 3 or?
I honestly am kind of, I'm taking yours for these. I'm stealing. I don't really feel super confident in, I don't know, like any of these picks. And I feel like, I don't know, we're talking about most of the teams and I'm just like, I'm happy with this. I think I will shout out the Phillies because I don't know if we're going to mention them otherwise. And I think they are, I mean, I guess I have them as my World Series top 5 contender. Do I think they will win the World Series? Honestly, no, but I think they're a team that could win their division in the National League. It's such a weird team, man. I mean, even like last year, it felt kind of the same way. They've got the star power. I mean, obviously they've got huge hitters. I think the pitching is sometimes questionable with them, and then but they're spending a ton of money. They've got the guys to do it. So I think I felt obligated to throw them into my top 5 list, and I was like thinking about it.
They're definitely in my list of teams that it's been 6 games, 7 games, whatever. They're on my list of teams that I'm putting a note in as like, might be concerned about this year. Harper's getting older, Schwarber's getting older. But Christopher Sanchez is still pitching great. My number 5, obligatory here, it's going to be the Houston Astros. So Yordan Alvarez basically didn't play last year. I mean, he played a little bit, but it was an injury-ridden season. And he has been probably one of the hottest hitters in baseball to start the season. I mean, hottest is not even the right word because that implies that it's unsustainable. Yordan is just this good, and it's easy to forget because he's a bigger guy. And I think he had like a foot or an ankle thing, and it just took a long time to come back from it last year. On the other side of the offense defense, Hunter Brown, first 2 starts were amazing. And then Lance McCullers, who also basically didn't play last year, had an amazing first start. So they just swept the Red Sox. Josh Hader's coming back from injury soon, who's one of the best closers in the league. So I still, there's a lot of young players. There's a lot of like holes in the lineup here. But a fully healthy Astros, I mean, we're seeing what they can do. I think they're 5-2 and are top of the AL West. So I'm hopeful, but it's also my home team, so I have to be hopeful. Last I'll mention, because we have to at least mention them, is the Yankees. Their pitching honestly looks even better than it did last year. Judge hasn't gotten going, but they've made the postseason like 20 of the last 25 times, so they'll be in the postseason.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yep. Did you see Stanton was like, dude, I don't understand. Like you mentioned the injuries earlier. There are so many guys that are just like, the season has not started. What have you been doing that you have tennis elbow in both elbows?
No, it's true. in a league, if this was a league like the NFL and it was like they were having all these practices and then it's like, oh shoot, whatever, our running back is hurt. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. He's probably getting hit, even if not that hard in practice. If you have, I can't remember who it was. Oh, Shane Bieber, forearm fatigue, sir. It's April 1st. You should now start having forearm fatigue once you start pitching. But I'll never understand it. These baseball players are just always something.
It's crazy. All right, last baseball question I have for you. Do you think the New York Mets will make the playoffs this year?
Wow. Oh, I forgot they didn't make the playoffs. That was a collapse. Yeah. No, they have to. I mean, they've given a lot of money to Bo Bichette, and also Lou Bob, and not that much money, but and Jorge Polanco. So anyway, they should make the postseason. The pitching's still a question mark, just as it was last year. At the second half of last year, they have to make the postseason. So
I saw Bo Bichette was getting booed by the Mets fans. He struck out his first 6 at bats or something like that. And
some patience, guys. Bo Bichette,
they have it just too good, man. I know it's the Mets because they really don't have it that good, but there's a level of privilege there that they just don't see. What are we doing?
It's Bo Bichette will be fine. I mean, I guess there's a world where this is a season he falls off a cliff, but there's no way. He's just a professional. He's a great hitter. I mean, if they were booing him making an error because he's a little bit of a questionable fielder, then it's a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
But just give him some rope. I don't know.
All right, let's go ahead and let's jump to tennis. We'll talk about one thing we were wrong about. I mean, I think this was both of us. We both kind of saw, and I think a lot of the tennis community probably saw Carlos Alcaraz as sort of taking that next step up and kind of becoming the guy, the number one player in the world over Jannik Sinner. This is looking back to the majors that from last year and then also this year. So in 2025, the last major of the 4 is the US Open, which I think takes place in August, September range, which Alcaraz ended up beating Djokovic in the final of that one in 4 sets to take it. And then he ended up winning the Australian Open this year after Sinner lost in the semifinals. And so I think we think about that. And so it felt like after the Australian Open this year, which takes place in January, Alcaraz was the next guy up. And then we see the first 2 really big tournaments of the year, Indian Wells, Miami Open, and Sinner ends up taking both of them in pretty convincing fashion. I think he didn't end up losing a set in either set. One. Yeah. Just dominant. Wow. And I think part of it is, hard court, he's so good. I think he feels like that's his best surface. TBD. Sometimes he's honestly really good on all of them, and every once in a while he can. I
kind of think grass might be his best surface, but we just don't see that much grass, so it's a little bit hard to say.
Yeah, that's right. Though he did win Wimbledon. He won Wimbledon last year. That was one of the 5 setters against Alcaraz. But nonetheless, it feels like now, after we've now seen 2 full 1,000 series tournaments where pretty much everyone that's healthy is playing at these tournaments because they're just worth so many points, and there's a lot of money involved too, obviously. And to see Sinner take them both in dominant fashion, it feels like now it's his world again. And so it's just crazy to see that transition and how they really are just so evenly matched, man. And importantly, they have not met up this year and played at any of the tournaments that they've been at. Which is frankly shocking.
That's the key thing. That's the key thing is that we're not sure what 2026 Sinner Alcaraz is going to be. Hopefully we get it soon. I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I think it speaks to maybe some of the volatility in Carlitos's game, where it feels like he's capable of losing to a guy that he really shouldn't, more so than Sinner is capable of losing to a guy that he shouldn't. Which isn't to say that Sinner will never get upset, because we've seen him get upset and it happens, but it feels like it happens to Carlos a little bit more.
Even at the loss at Miami to Korda, it looked like a body. I will say Korda played great. Honestly, great tennis, and looked like he was going to win in 2 sets, and then he Carlos was able to come back, win the second set, and he still, very strongly won the third set. Anyway, Carlos definitely looked fatigued, looked like he kind of needed to be somewhere else. And I mean, fair enough, he's playing so much tennis. But coming out of the Australian, I was ready to say, because he won the U.S. Open, and then there was the Djokovic Sinner upset in the semifinals of the Australian, and then there was Alcaraz beat Djokovic pretty well in the finals. I was ready to just be like, this is Alcaraz's. He's just ascended. He's taken the step. He's not just 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B, whatever you want to say. He is now 1 and then 2. And then he lost, so he lost to Medvedev at Indian Wells, and then he lost to Korda in the round of 32 at Miami. And Sinner just played his game, man. He served so well at Miami. His forehand is still so when he hits the forehand and it's got like the pop and it's nice and flat over the net. It's so good. Yeah. And he didn't look tired at all. I think notably, like there was no fatigue. And I guess if you win everything in straight sets, then it's a little easier. But anyway, we're back to Sincaraz. We're back to basically being like, okay, which one of these two guys is going to come on top? And next tournament is what, French, or is it Wimbledon?
The French Open's first.
Yeah, it's the French. It's the French. Yeah. That's such a fun tournament, man. I love the Grand Slams. That'll be a fun one. Hopefully we get. I mean, last year's French Open final was.
Dude, I mean, yeah, the French Open and Wimbledon were both like, yeah, we were so spoiled. Both those matches were crazy and so fun to watch. But yeah, the French Open was special last year.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, if we get a Sinner Alcaraz final, like the expectations will be high that it's a fun match, but we'll get to see kind of it. Tennis. It's so good to have these storylines, like that. I think it's just very hard for people to sometimes get really connected, especially American fans. I'm going to speak as an American because there hasn't been a really awesome American guy to rally. We talk about this all the time on this podcast, like who's the guy for American tennis? And no, we haven't had someone take the mantle. Maybe we have Lerner Chien, but so it's really nice to have these storylines where it's, the big three was such everybody knew about the big three, even if you didn't know much about tennis. And then when they were getting older, we weren't able to kind of connect to that next generation. And now it's like, okay, we have Sinner Alcaraz. And that's such a compelling, I mean, even just the average sports fan knows who those two guys are. So, and it's great for tennis because it's also so much fun to watch them play. But anyway.
Yep. No, that's right. And I think the thing about tennis too is everything just boils down to the majors, the same way that like nobody cares how you perform in regular season games in the NBA or especially the MLB. Like nobody cares if you hit 2 homers in a game. Like, yeah, your local sports network's going to pick it up, but like other than that, it really doesn't get a ton of publicity. And that's kind of how tennis feels to me as like, I don't know. I mean, it's just a normal fan. Like it feels like it all boils down to the majors. And even if you win all of these 1,000 tournaments and whatever, it doesn't matter, man. It just matters how you do at the majors. And I think part of that is due to the fact that it's the smaller tournaments are 2 out of 3 sets and majors are 3 out of 5. That's part of it. You're obviously just playing more. But there's a level of history there and prestige that comes with Wimbledon, obviously, and like all of them. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So same with baseball, like you can win all the PGA Tour events you want. But I feel like, until you get, sorry, what did I say?
Baseball.
Yeah, I meant golf.
It is similar with golf. So much of sports for the average fan is like intertwined with marketing and what you see online and all that kind of stuff. And those storylines are just easier to tell at the bigger tournaments. And last year we were spoiled because we had so many great finals, and it was the guys going back and forth. I mean, other than the Australian, it was Sinner, Alcaraz, all 3. And this year it looked like it was going to be the Alcaraz rise. They're both Nike though, which is interesting. Maybe some teammate.
Ooh.
I
honestly haven't even thought about it.
Yeah, they're both Nike.
Interesting. I remember who was it? I think Djokovic has bounced around a bunch. He was like Uniqlo for the longest time.
Yeah,
Lacoste.
Yeah. I like the Lacoste one. Taylor Fritz is Hugo Boss.
Oh yeah, oh,
Not
yeah.
not to laugh at that brand. I'm sure it's a great brand.
Boss. No, it is funny. Like on the side of his shirt, just huge boss. Dude,
Shelton is Shelton
tennis
Lulu?
sponsoring
No, TFO is Lulu.
TFO.
TFO is Lulu.
Yeah,
He's
that sounds
on
right.
cloud. That's what he is.
Yeah, yeah.
You own
Dude,
any on
tennis
cloud
sponsoring
shoes?
is really fun. No, I do not. I'm not really a on those shoes. They've got really big fat bases. I mean, I can't get behind that. And the
We
other
need
thing
a guy
is,
with a Vivo sponsorship.
so true, so true, so true.
Probably hard to play tennis in those, though. In fairness,
I've come full circle though. I was a Vivo guy for a minute. For anyone who doesn't know, the Vivo are like these barefoot shoes that have like very minimal, a very minimal support on the bottom of them, and they also have no heel drop, which is an important part of it. Is like normal shoes, the heels are a little bit thicker than the toe. I've come full circle though. I did have a pair of Vivo Barefoots for a while. I was running on them, like I guess fairly hardly. No, not fairly hardly.
Gotcha.
I was running on them a lot, and I ended up like developing pretty severe knee pain, and I kind of think it's because of those barefoot shoes. So now I buy like the cheapest Reeboks or Adidas I can get, that are just like their base level shoe, like their base level trainers, and I just run in those. And I mean, I tear them up in like 6 months, but they at least have. I think there's a level of support that is actually kind of needed if you're running like more longer distance.
Well,
it doesn't
especially
help
if
that
it's
I'm a bigger guy. Yeah,
yeah, and road running as well. It depends on the surface a little bit.
yep, definitely.
Did you see the whole thing? Just asking because Cavs. Did you see the whole thing with Jared Allen and the shoes that he wears and how he's running out of them?
No, actually, I didn't see this.
So the Athletic, I think, published an article basically deep diving into like NBA players and their idiosyncratic relationships with the sneakers that they care about. And Jared Allen only wears, I think it's Kyrie threes from, I think it's 2016 is when that shoe came out. And that's the only thing he wears. And
Yeah.
he is running, like, I think they're running out. They don't make them anymore. And he's running out of supply. And he's size 17, of course. So,
And not very many were manufactured.
yeah.
I can't imagine.
And people are like, so why don't you just do the Kyrie fours? And he's a loyalist. So maybe you can run into those.
I think I do remember hearing something about this because they were asking players like, how often do you switch out your shoes, basically? And for some reason, I do think it might just be because you're talking about, but I remember Jared Allen being like, I'll wear a pair for the whole season. Whereas all the other guys are like, they switch it out every game, basically. Like they are constantly flipping.
Yeah, I saw the headline. I think it was Cade. I think he goes through, he said it's 60 pairs a season and there's 82 games. So
I
basically
can't imagine
every
blisters,
game.
man. The blisters have to be brutal when you're
But you
breaking in shoes like that.
I mean, he must. I should go read more of the article, but he must have a certain reason. I just thought the Jared Allen one was really funny.
Tennis players do the same thing. They refuse. The rackets that they use are like, I know famously, I think Federer used like a 2008 mold of like this very specific. It was a Wilson racket. Sinner does a similar thing. He still uses, I think it's like the 2018 or 2019 mold of the head. I think it's the MP100. I think. Anyways, he still uses like only that racket, and so I think Head, the manufacturer, will like make him specifically a racket that like really they don't even sell like to the mass market, but that's the one he uses.
It's kind of similar for me. I only use one tennis racket when I play, so we're kind of like the same there. And it's not because I only own one. It's not. This is a choice.
I think I'm in the same boat, and mine's actually a mold even older than 2019.
Nice. You're even more of a real
retro. One. Yeah. Oh man. All right. All right, let's go to the most exciting sports moment we watched. Doesn't have to be anything we've talked about. For me, it actually is going to be something we've talked about. I can't give it to anything else. But the UConn shot, it was just special to see, and I think we talked about it. I was watching it live. This was UConn over Duke, and I think there's something to be said about it being on Duke, and there's like a rallying that goes
anyone but Duke,
and anyone but Duke. Which, yeah. So that was the most exciting thing I watched. It got my heart racing. Reminded me why I love sports.
Yep, it was pure madness. Some second tier moments just to note them. LeBron blocking Donovan Mitchell on the literally like 2 seconds after tip off uh, was unbelievable. Literally, the ball is tipped. Mitchell kind of it bounces a little bit of a weird way, breaks through, and then LeBron chase down blocks him. And later in that same game, catches an alley-oop from Austin Reeves. I don't know if they started running different plays, but LeBron has been dunking so much recently.
He still has it. Oh
It's
my gosh.
it's there aren't really like adjectives or words for it to describe it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like a dunk threat now. And he really, I mean, he obviously always was, but like a serious dunk threat this year. And he's 41.
He's always there, man. He's somehow, like on fast breaks or something, he's just like, he's up there. It's like, how are you actually like quick like that? It's crazy.
And then the last one I'll mention on the baseball, Mike Trout, the GOAT, he has just, the last 2 seasons, it looked like he was getting old and his career was just declining. He's always struggled a little bit with injuries. And every season, it's always just like, I just want Mike Trout to have a good season. He's had a tough career, barely, I think he made the playoffs once, just, but one of the best baseball players ever. And he hit a home run in both of his first 2 games, made like a not a full layout catch, but one of those baseball layouts where they're kind of like folding it to the ground as they're catching it. Anyway, Mike Trout looks healthy and like actually like he's got his bat speed and his spring in the outfield back. And that's as exciting as it can be. I love that. I would love to see a healthy Mike Trout. So had to note it.
Cool. All right, let's finish it out. What did you watch? What did you watch that wasn't sports? Do you have anything?
Yeah,
anything good to talk about?
I think we both watched Project Hail Mary, so I'll save that to the last one.
Yeah, okay.
My local theater ran No Country for Old Men on Sunday, so 3 days ago. I'd never seen it.
Real feel good movie.
Yes, right? Exactly. So I'd never seen it. My dad and my brother-in-law both really like the book and like the movie, so I've heard a lot about it, but I never checked it out. I recently watched Fargo, same directors and same bleak-ish feeling. Movie was awesome. I'm really glad I watched it in the big screen. It absolutely holds up. The no music, the cinematography, the small and contained but really intense action, and then also just like the opening, the dialogue, the opening and closing monologues are like inch perfect. So sometimes movies are as good as people say they are.
Yeah, that's one of them. I think No Country for Old Men is it's not even a cult classic, dude. Everyone loves it. Yeah. It's like it's a
it won the best picture. Yeah. It's a classic.
Also underrated sleeper pick for the most important difference between like a movie theater and your home theater are the silent bits.
That's a great call.
So much harder in a movie theater, man. But like you don't think about it when you're at home, but there's like your air conditioner, you have other people in the house, you have like maybe street noise. There's so many things that are in the background. So then you don't really get to like, but man, dude, when a big silent moment hits in a film, the way you feel it in a theater is special. It's special.
That was one of the things I noted at Project Hail Mary. I saw it in IMAX, so huge, like huge screen. The sound was incredible. It just made it such a treat visually. And well, not even sensually. No, that's not the right word.
Sensorially,
you get what I'm trying to say. So awesome. I've read the book, so I really like the story. It's not the story's not like the deepest thing ever, but it's a great movie. I think it's a really fun movie about like hope, and space movies are fun, and I thought they did the book justice. Kyle, what did you think?
So Project Hail Mary, I saw it in a much different setting. I was in a theater that is like an old-timey theater from the early 1900s, late 1800s. So
wow.
It's been updated. It's been updated, I mean, obviously, but it hasn't been like fully redone. So it still has some of that old vibe. Like the seats are very old style, and it's also, I mean, inherently, because it's so old, it's just a smaller experience. You're not watching it on like the huge IMAX 70 millimeter, like full picture thing. So it's different. It's different. And I think that that's a big caveat for my viewing experience, because it felt like a movie where a lot of the the specialness to it was because you're watching it, and like the spectacle is the imagery and like the actual cinematography is the right word. So I didn't totally get all of that just due to the fact that I'm watching it on basically like a bigger home theater setup is what I would describe it
Are
as.
there like cramped seats? Like your legs
No,
are
they're really not cramped. I wouldn't say that.
okay. That's good.
It's just the entire area is cramped. So like even in the back row, you're still looking up a little bit because like the screen is right in front of you. So there's basically nobody in the first half of the rows of seating because it's
Sure.
that bad, which is kind of true in a normal theater anyways, but just emphasize that more. You really have to be in like one of the last three rows to get like any sort of good, decent viewing experience and not have a sore neck at the end. So I will start with that. I think so. I have not read the book by Andy Weir. So this was like I was going in totally blind. And I will say I like loved the concept of the movie. It like totally fits into everything I love, like the science fiction aspect of it. The Yeah, and I also love Ryan Gosling. I think he's hilarious, and this is like such a Ryan Gosling film. I think he's like awesome in the whole thing. For me though, it was a huge letdown. The second half of the film was it really moved away from like the science aspect of it to me. It felt like, and it moved more into like the I don't know, almost like cheap thrills, like cheap gotchas in terms of like the comedy and the dialogue. It just ended up becoming like a lot of the same thing, which it was funny, dude. Like there were moments I was like almost in tears laughing because I mean I think I kind of already said it, but I think Ryan Gosling in just about any film where he plays a funny role, he's
He
good.
fills
Like in
the screen
Barbie,
well. Yeah.
dude, he does. And so in that, in terms of like a fun watch, it was super fun, but it left me wanting like a lot more of the science fiction-y aspect. And I do think I have a bias for films that have more of the dark side of humanity and society. Yeah, I think I have that bias of like a No Country for Old Men over Project Hail Mary. So there's a bit of that there.
Too much hope. No, I think it's fair. So the science, they definitely give you some of the science up front, and then a lot of the plot points at the end, they hand wave a lot of the science part of it. That is not the case in the book, so it's a little bit hard for me to like fully
Separate
connect.
the two.
Yeah, separate.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I know why that thing happened. Like, simply, I won't do spoilers, but one of the big plot points is described in detail science wise in the book, and then it's very quickly given to you in the movie. So I could definitely see why that lowered the quality or the punch of it. One other thing I'm going to note about Project Hail Mary: this is the first movie that I can think of since probably Barbie that has such a wide like buzz. When I went to the theater,
watching it. Yep.
Kyle, there was a line into the street to get into the movie theater, which I have never seen at this theater. I mentioned it on a work call today, just like purely just making small talk, and like everyone was like, "Oh, I saw it! I saw it! I saw it!" It's just so cool. I think it is very cool that movies have become a hobbyist thing where there are great movies made by auteurs that you kind of have to like seek out. But I also think it's really fun when there's just a movie like this that everyone has gone seen and you can go and ask people about it, and everyone's just like, yeah, it was a great time. Like at worst, it's a great time. So that's really fun.
No, I totally agree. Do you think, are you supportive of the way that movie theaters now require you to select your seating beforehand, or do you prefer it the way it was before, where it was first come, first serve?
It's an interesting question. Okay, so I am very mad at Southwest Airlines for changing their seating policy to select seating from first come, first serve seating. So I might be in the minority here, because clearly Southwest did that because they made a business decision that people like to select their seat. I think first come, first serve is really fun, and it's nice to get into the middle in the exact right spot. But yeah.
So my take is, it feels like first come, first serve is the most fair, because at the end of the day, the people that got there earlier, they spent more time waiting in that movie theater, as opposed to the other way. Good. It's really just you thought ahead more, which like there is some value in that. Like, good for you. You knew you were going to see this movie at that time a week ago.
Good for you.
But I didn't. And I think it ends up like yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this, but I agree with you. I think first come first serve is the way that like most things just inherently should be. Once we start reserving stuff, man, it's like we can play this game a year in advance if we want. Like if we really want to go down this rabbit hole, like we can keep pushing it back. But yeah.
So I made this is like early in my YouTube career before I was making sports videos. I made a video about in very high demand restaurant cities like New York City specifically, there are people who resell reservations at really buzzy places. There's like markets. So basically what's the word? Industrious young man wants to make some money. I go make dinner reservations at Carbone I 5 p.m., 5:15 p.m., 5:30 p.m., etc. Then I go on this marketplace and I resell those reservations to people who are like, they want to go tonight and they're willing, their price elasticity, they'll pay $100 more for the reservation because they just want to go tonight. They're wealthy or whatever, or they're trying to impress someone. And I don't know if movie theaters are as in demand. I don't know if we're going to get to that.
Is there a market there? No,
I doubt it.
Can't be. Yeah,
there can't be. But it just made me think of that. Like, why don't we just do first come first serve at these places? But then you have people waiting in lines, and then you have people paying other people to wait in lines for them. And
ooh, that's a slippery slope. I didn't even think about that. You're right though. Yeah, there's
I
a
would
market
do that.
there.
A movie theater, like you wait for first come first serve. I'll go sit in that seat for an hour before, and then the movie's starting, and I get up, get some popcorn. We should cut this so we can start that market. There's always a market.
So true. Yeah, we got to trademark that immediately. Oh man. All right. Cool. Let's call it there. If anyone's still listening, wow, you're a real one. This has been
if the Wii U didn't turn you off and the movie theater seating arrangement didn't turn you off.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. We're part of the Field Guide Network. There's a few other podcasts that are on there. So go ahead, feel free to check them out. We recently did a Boulder Dash video.
I think we're calling it Bluffinition, I think was the official thing we ended up, but it's
definition.
Yeah. Okay. Definition and you're bluffing.
And you're bluffing. Yeah. I'm following. We did that with two of the other creators on the Field Guide. It was a great time. And I feel like at the end, the person who played the game the best won, and that's all I'll say. But it's a really good watch. So yeah.
Alrighty. Thanks, Kyle. This was fun.
Thanks.